Yeah, I don't see like that.
Today, as we start the show, this one mic. We hail Aston throughout the stadium. There is a pause throughout the stadium as this man sounds like he just coughed up a lung. Just looking around, the Jumbotron shows and pans the cheerleaders, and as it goes down each cheerleader's face, each one breaks up into laughter, which at this particular time destroys half the stadium. The other half is still trying to figure out what the hell just happened. Does this guy need CPR or something? And then at that particular time, I lost it. Devon dropped. Today,
Blog Talk
we start
Radio.
the show, this one mic.
Phoenix is another place. They got a great training staff. They were able to breathe life back into Shaq. And you can do that. People talk a lot about their training staff.
Blog.
Today, as we start the show, this one mic.
All right, welcome to a special edition of One Mic. This has been a crazy week. It's good to kind of get back here. I'm still hitting you live from Maui. I got my man Darnell Kirkland Jr. on the ones and twos. How you doing, Darnell?
Man, I'm doing fine. A little under the weather, but hey, that never stopped me before. So
Man,
you know,
what's the temperature there?
I think it's. I haven't been outside yet, but I think it's pretty good. I know the game is in Columbus today. It's supposed to be a high of 52, so
Okay,
it can't
okay,
be too far off.
okay. It's windy in Maui, like very effing windy all week.
Uh,
But I don't know. It's probably 70, something like that, maybe. I don't know. I have to look out, but I'm trying to get my mind right to get back to the Midwest. I get my head get on that plane. So I want to begin by
yeah,
just kind
it's 43 right now.
of
It's 42
okay,
degrees right now. And it's, yeah.
okay, okay. So I want to begin just kind of wrapping up some things here. With we're at the Maui Gym, Maui Invitational, just kind of wrapping stuff up, some closing thoughts and some thank yous. First of all, I want to thank our sponsors, Bowman Medical Group and Aston, Mahana at Kaanapali, for just kind of support. I had a chance to have dinner with Brian Cox last night, GM over there, along with some other friends from back in the Midwest, and got a piece we putting out with Dr. Bowman. I think was great. We talked a little bit about mental health, so check that out. It'll be on realsportsguys.com. As well as we'll put it on all our platforms. We'll have a chance. He has some really good thoughts on in terms of kind of infrastructure we should be thinking about in terms of mental health and student athletes. But the all tournament team was Ryan Nemhard from Creighton, Azulis Tubelis from Arizona, Umar Bala, who was also the MVP from Arizona. A lot of Arizona related stuff because Daniel Bacho from Texas Tech, who's like, this guy has a motor. He's a transfer from Arizona. But it was just a great tournament. I mean, just when you thought it was over, Arizona obviously winning, beating Creighton was a great game. But the Arkansas, which is, they kind of have the championship game and then they have the third place game after it. And it was, a battle between Arkansas and San Diego State. San Diego State basically was winning for most of that game. Arkansas gets a tip in right at the end to send it to overtime, and then they win in overtime. We actually had to head to the airport in the middle of the overtime, but just tells you it was some great games. And then I got we got some kind of a preview to things uh, for next year a little bit. I know um, uh, the Zags played and Tennessee played it in the tournaments. Kansas winning the Atlantis. So Kansas will be there next year. Purdue will be there next year. The Zags will be there next year. It's going to be a loaded lineup. UCLA will be there next year. It's going to be a loaded lineup for next year. So just been excited to be, connected with this and being part of the tournament. Thank y'all all for supporting it. College basketball is often running with all kinds of stuff happening this week, and so it was just great to be there. But the main feast for the day, given that folks were eating up some stuff yesterday, it's college football. Rankings come out. We pretty much stayed same at the top. I think we had USC at 5. Clemson is at 7, right? With Alabama, no, LSU at 6. Um, and it's all going to come down to this weekend of college football. So we'll get in. We'll get into the border war. That war between that team down south and that team up north. They showed a segment where even in Columbus, we have babies being born, and they don't even they only want to put the M on the front of the on the front of the thing for all the babies who are being born. I mean, they're taking it to the baby war. That's what it's all about here at this Michigan Ohio State Buckeye game. Darren, I want to see. I know you sitting there near Ann Arbor. Do we have any? It looks like Blake Corum is going to try and play today. Is that what we're sensing?
Well, from what I've been told, Blake Corum is going to play today.
Okay.
Donovan Evans will play today, and so will Trevor Keegan. Eric All is out for the season, but that's all the news that I have for you. But
So,
with Blake Corum playing, yep.
yeah.
But, yeah, with Blake Corum playing, the question mark is how much and how healthy is he going to be, and how much will he be able to give you. So
and
that's something
and,
to tell.
and having Donovan Edwards is key. I think you always talked about just his ability to catch out of the backfield. This kid can throw the football. I mean, he can do a lot of different things. I think he's sometimes overshadowed by just
He's Booby Miles.
what you say.
I said he's Booby Miles,
He's Booby Miles, right? Yeah,
and
he's
he can pass. But he has a broken hand, so you're not going to see too much of Donovan Edwards catching the ball today.
yeah. But you might see him running it. So they'll at least they'll have something to play with in the backfield. And I think if Quorum's on that field, he seems like he's got heart, he's got stuff going. What do you sense? What are some of the key injuries on the Buckeye side that we
Well,
should be?
Travion Henderson hasn't been healthy since the Michigan State game. He's been playing every other week, trying to play. But we saw him limp off the field and during last week's game, and he ended up in a walking boot. He is out for this game.
Mm.
Travion Henderson is out for this game. Jackson Smith and Jigba will not be making his return today. He is out for this game as well. That's really the big news. Everything else is the same. Court Williams is still out. But Maya Williams is expected to play. So
And Jigbo is kind of
that's
like he just has been holding him, and it's just like it seems like he just not has not been able to have that season at all this year. It's like okay, you just kid, we're just gonna let's save you for the NFL. It's just like it seems like he's just hasn't been able to get back there healthy enough.
well, it's the unofficial. Well, it's unofficial. Well, I said this weeks ago. I said this
Yeah,
like a month or so ago. I think Jackson Smith and Jigba should just shut it down and prepare for the draft because you know how hamstring injuries are.
yeah.
These soft tissue injuries they don't go away overnight. There's something that's the only thing that's gonna fix it is rest. And you got physical therapy, but that's only after the rest has. That's only after you've rested the amount that you have to rest.
Mm-hmm.
And he tried to push it. He tried to push it and come back after 2 weeks. It wasn't right. Well, it's not going to be right. And then he tried to rest another 2 weeks and come back, and it wasn't right. Which is not going to be right because you know what I'm saying. It's only going to be. It's only going to get healthy with time, and that's the mistake they made. But you might see him try to make a playoff comeback if they make it to the college football playoff. But yeah, I don't see him coming. He's not coming back today, and I don't see him coming back for the Big Ten championship game either.
Yeah, so when we think about uh uh um like keys to victory, and a lot of this is determined by who's available, right? But you know, obviously, Michigan. Couple things Michigan, I believe, have to do. Obviously, their bread and butter starts with them being able to run the football, and they got to be able to do that to get things going. But they got to finish drives. I think this is the game where they gotta. I watched them in the red zone. They gotta finish drives. They score a lot of points on some on runs outside the red zone, like Corm or some other plays, big plays. But in that red zone, they score, but they end up with a lot of field goals. And this is a game that they can't, afford to have, any field goals. So they got to figure out how to score when they're in the red zone. You just can't. This is not a team you can actually play with, and walk away with 3 points, as well. And so that's something that I'm thinking on the Michigan side is the key. What do you think about that?
Well, I think Michigan's game plan is no secret.
Yeah,
They're gonna have
none
the
at
same
all.
game plan as last year. It's just what is the health of the backfield, and will they be able to be effective as as they usually are. The O line is they're gonna be able to create creases. And I think if Quorum is feeling good, if they're shooting them up with that good stuff, um, whatever they shot up Justin Fields with in that Clemson game, if they shoot him up with that, I think Michigan can do it. But if he's limping around, he's not effective at all. I think Ohio State has what it takes to win. But I think Ohio State's a talented enough team to be favored in this game. But um, I had picked Michigan earlier in the season because both Ryan Day and Jim Knowles both have this tendency to be stubborn. Stubborn in their ideology. Like where Jim Knowles, he's a Ivy League educated guy. Those guys are um they're set in their ways. And Jim Knowles, he'll be in the 4-2-5, and I understand why. He loves playing his three safeties, but he rarely puts a third linebacker in the game. And I think a game like this against Michigan, you're gonna have to put a third linebacker in the game, but he's not gonna do it. He's gonna say, you know what? I got Ronnie Hickman, I have Lathan Ransom, I have Chad McAllister. They're all gonna go to the NFL, so they're all gonna play. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah,
But hey, in a game like this against Michigan, you need a bigger body up there because when they try to get to that second level, if they can just move one of those smaller safeties out the way, they're going to start gassing you. So I wonder if Jim Knowles will be if he will make the adjustments that he needs to make to win this game.
yeah. I think that's the other key is that the Buckeye defense, who the reason why they made the change to bring him in to be the defensive coordinator is for this game, right? And I think it's like who can break tendencies, right? I think that's going to be an important part about it, is because both these teams do what they do. Ryan Day does what he does. Jim does what he does. But in a game like this, sometimes it's like, do you have a moment where you break tendency? Do you have a moment where you do something a little bit wrinkle, a little bit different? And that's gonna JJ McCarthy's gonna have to make some plays, right? He's gonna have to make 2 or 3 plays that tell you why he's such a talented quarterback, right? What's and why they went with him, because he can make a play. He's gonna have to do something there along with that establishing that running game. You know, can the Buckeye defense decide to throw a wrinkle in? What are they going to do if Michigan gets momentum running the ball? The other thing on the Buckeye offense is establishing that run. They got the great receivers, but this is a game where you got to win the line of scrimmage.
And those
And part of
receivers,
it's a psychological thing, right?
hmm
Can you take their will? Go ahead.
they got highly ranked receivers. I
Yeah.
think they have one great receiver, and the rest
Mm,
of them haven't. The rest of them
mm,
haven't proven that they're at that level yet. Julian Fleming hasn't proven anything yet. He has a lot of drop issues.
mm.
Meka Egbuka, he hasn't. He's good for now, but you know what I'm saying.
Yeah.
He's solid. I think he will be a great player, but he hasn't shown that he's at that level of the Chris Olave, Garrett Wilson that you've seen in the past. I don't think he's at that level. He's not at that level right now. You know what I'm saying? So I think they have one great receiver, another good receiver, and another average receiver. But
See
I
that?
think the key for
Boy,
Ohio State.
if Hammer heard that the way y'all been going back and forth in that chat, woo, Hammer. We both wanted Hammer on there. Hammer was irrational. I
Yeah,
said, wow.
and the
I was like,
key, I think the key to Ohio State winning this game is Cade Stover, the tight end. He's
yes, yeah,
proven that he makes big plays in big moments. He's a big body. He can block. He can catch the ball. I think he's going to have a big game for them to win, and I think he can. I think he's proven that he can. And CJ likes to go to him when stuff breaks down. Him and Marvin Harrison. I think those are the top two targets in the passing game for them.
yeah. And he's on that.
But the
He's
run
from that
game,
farm. He if he wasn't on the field, he'd be on the farm. He loves doing that hard work, and it shows when he's on the field. He's a workhorse. You know, he's someone who's going to be very effective at the next level. Um, in the use of the tight end, is something for both these teams that could be key to this game. But yeah, I think he's going to be a key to keeping the chains moving in some of those key plays. And can they exploit any matchups if Michigan gets caught? He's got size, so especially down in that red zone, they do a good job of getting him the football, and he's a load. He's a
yep.
load.
And last year, speaking of them putting the work in, last year when they needed depth at linebacker, they didn't really have a lot. Cade Stover made the switch mid-season, and he's playing linebacker for him. So that's a guy that he puts his hard hat on and he goes to work.
Yeah, so it's going to be a game of adjustments. It's going to have an ebb and flow to it. I'm excited to kind of see. It's you hear the rooster in the background. It's early over here in Maui. It's 6:27 in the morning. Yeah, I had to get up. I could miss this one. Gonna have a little breakfast. I've been waiting for this one all year long. Want to see how it turns out. Is it just one game for Michigan? But both these teams are great. These are great programs. It just feels right. Like watching Florida State, Florida last night. It just felt right to have that crowd and have Florida State do what they do. It feels like college football. You got USC back in the mix. Now it just feels right. Then we got Matt Rule coming over to Nebraska, trying to get Nebraska. Like it feels like college football is, the stars are aligning. We get some of these, these blue chip programs back in the mix, and it just feels right now in college football. Excited about what's going to happen. There's going to be a lot of that's going to be a hostile environment. I remember my brother and them talking about going down there. It was the interactions they were having with the Buckeye fans. So it's going to be a crazy day. Do we want to do some predictions? I feel like I can't even make a prediction, but you have been going back and forth on both. I would say you're probably the most balanced out of the crew. Uh, uh, Carl is kind of irrational. I'm glad he's doing the right thing today. He's doing a public service today. So we're gonna let Carl go do that today. But if you're looking at, you talked about the keys. You called Michigan earlier in the year. We got a lot that's happened since you made that call. Where do you fit right now?
Yeah, like you said, there's a lot of stuff that happened. So I think I might have to switch my pick to Ohio State. Um,
He switches over to
we
Ohio
saw
State.
we saw the way that Blake Corum ended that game. He wasn't really able to do much. He actually I think he got one carry and then he sat the rest of the game. So I don't think he's going to be able to. He's going to give it a go because it's the biggest game of his. I'm not gonna say biggest game of his career because he played in the college football playoff, but it's the biggest game of the season to date. So he's going to give it a go. So is Donovan Edwards, but I don't think it's going to be enough. So I'm going to go with Ohio State today.
I think he might pull a Willis Reed on him. Is that Willis Reed? He might come out, do his thing. I actually think JJ McCarthy's going to have a great game. Everybody been waiting for that signature moment. I think this is going to be another barn burner. Hopefully, he's not another bad call down there in Columbus when they get the mark wrong. I hope we just have good football, right, where people aren't walking away. I understand your pick. I mean, it all makes sense. They got C.J. Stroud. That kid makes plays wherever he's always ready to make plays. I think the danger of one of these receivers finally waking up. This is the moment where most of those receivers, who are Buckeyes receivers, who are remember make this is where they make their name in these games. You got Harris.
Chris
Everything
Olave
looks.
is a true freshman.
We said,
I said, yeah, like Chris Olave is a true freshman. Like,
yeah, yeah.
maybe one of those guys step up and have one of those nights.
Yeah, I think Michigan's been building toward this program, and I think they got some kids on the other side hearing a lot about the Buckeye receivers, and they got some cats on the other side who want to make their name as well. It's going to be interesting, and they just haven't, I don't think, featured them as much as they need to feature some of those receivers they have on Michigan side. I think that it's going to be a squeaker. I think it's going to be a last second one. It's going to get down to the All-American kicker over there in Michigan land doing his thing, and I think they might squeak one out. Your pick is probably the right pick, but I think I got a feeling that this is going to tighten up in this rivalry. It just makes sense. It's just kind of year it's been. Now the question is, can both these teams make the college football championship, the Final Four? I think they both can. People have been putting it. If it's a really good game, given what I'm seeing here, I think depends on what happens with USC. I think both these teams, if it's a thriller, like you think about the game where when Bo Schemblacher died, and it was a close one. Michigan probably should have made it then, but if it's a game like that, I think both these teams have a chance to make it. Do you think?
Well, they need some help. They need TCU to lose. They need USC to lose, but we'll see.
Yeah, yeah. I think that they have a chance, but one thing we do know, it's going to be a great game. You get some tea, man. Get your feet up.
Ooh.
You get ready.
Mm-hmm.
I know you're going to be. We don't want you. We don't want you talking all day. We're going to be in the chat room doing our thing. We're closing out our trip here in Maui, and transitioning. It's going to be great. We'll get ready for some football. We'll see y'all all on the other side as we enjoy not only the Michigan game, but there's going to be plenty of other football and basketball to enjoy. And we got to end with some welcome back, Kyrie. Kyrie's back in the building doing what he does, and we'll do it. So this is kind of the on the road with RSG at the Maui Invitational. It's kind of our one mic edition, and it's good to be back and enjoy the game. And we'll definitely talk about it in our next episode.
Hey yo, Neil. Hey, what's up? I got you.